G'day and welcome to the Grow a Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Truen. Each week, we speak with an owner who has grown a business with 5 to 30 team members to something bigger. Diving into their numbers and unearthing the pain they've experienced, we explore what they did to overcome each barrier and what they would do differently from day one. Let's get into it. Welcome everyone. Today I'm interviewing Dmitrii Kustov from Regex SEO based in Houston, United States. Thanks for your time today, Dmitrii.
It's a pleasure to be here and thank you for having me.
Let's start with how we know each other. So Julia on your team, the outreach manager, got in touch and thought you might be a good guest to come on. You've been on quite a few podcasts, so I'm looking forward to the chat today.
Yeah, Julia is doing a great job, and I've been on quite a few podcasts by this point. So if anybody wants to listen to my thoughts, it's fairly easy to find me online. Just Google my name.
Yeah, good. Tell the audience a bit about your business, what it does and how it makes money.
All right, so we are a full service digital marketing agency. Our bread and butter is SEO. It kind of naturally evolved into that because typically for smaller businesses, SEO organic growth is the most ROI friendly, return on investment friendly, the most efficient and the most productive way to grow. So, however, even though SEO is probably close to about 70% of our business, we still do everything under the umbrella of digital marketing, including pretty much all of the marketing channels, paid advertising, email marketing, social media, brand and brand awareness, brand promotions, and so on. And also we do website development as well. Typically, all those activities are done in order to help SEO or organic growth. Mm-hmm. So if somebody comes to us and let's say their website is really, really bad, then we can rebuild it for them so that whenever we start SEO, it's kind of not wasted in terms of budget, in terms of just resources.
Yeah, good. And SEO this day and age, some people say it's not as relevant or as effective as it was, especially when Google, launched in the 90s. I think it was late 90s. But you're obviously clearly, because it's your core business, it's something that is still very, very effective in marketing.
Yes, I would argue that with those people any day. It's definitely depends. It definitely depends on the industry. So if you are producing some kind of a very specific cog part for like an oil and gas industry, yeah, it's probably not going to make sense to do SEO for you. But if you put yourself in your audience shoes, in your user's shoes, and what do you do when you are searching for any question, product, or service? 99% you go to Google or any search engine and search your question. And SEO stands for search engine optimization. The role of it, the idea of it, the goal of it is to make your business show up on the first page for those searches in your area. Yes. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was about to answer my own question because that's exactly what I do. When I'm looking for something, I Google it and click on the organic results, not necessarily the ads, rarely click on an ad. So yeah, definitely. Yeah. I remember my business partner who I had in the cast a month or so ago in London, it was 2007, I think. 2008, had a bet with him. We called it the Google gin bet because he loves gin. I said, if you can get us to page 1 of Google within 3 months, I'll buy you the best case of, gin that you like. And because it was very competitive. We were on page 72 at the time from memory for a very competitive term, IT support London. So you can imagine that. So we've been on page 1 since that bet, and he made it by 2 days to spare. Which was brilliant to watch because he leveraged the team, didn't do it all himself, got a whole lot of projects up. So yeah, it was very important for our business back then, and it is these days still very pertinent.
Yeah, absolutely. And definitely the SEO industry, the SEO game, if you will, has changed since early 2000s. Absolutely. Yep. But the idea stays the same. The approach, the core approach and what is required stays the same.
Yeah.
Because really, if you think about what's Google about or any other search engine is about, they are about to provide the best answer result for whatever search there is you're typing in. And it would be counterproductive for them to put something that is not related, that is not answering the question of the search query. If they do that, if they do it in a incorrect way, then people would stop using Google, and Google would shut down.
Yeah, exactly. I remember, I think it was the Panda update was one of the big ones around 10 years ago that killed off a lot of the link farms, things that just wasn't providing the right content. So yeah, which was benefits everyone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it used to be kind of easy to trick the search engine. Now it's much more difficult, if almost pretty much impossible to trick it. You just have to play by the rules, more or less. And yeah, so again, that's how Google has progressed so far, and that's why SEO, search engine optimization, is so important nowadays.
Yep. How did you start out?
Out of necessity, in a sense. So by training, I have an education in mathematics, applied mathematics. So in university, my first job even was more about coding, programming, and I got hired here in Houston at a local agency. They were looking for a developer, and then quickly they realized that they actually didn't need a developer, but they need an SEO person. So more or less, they gave me an ultimatum to learn SEO or I would get kicked out. And 6 short months later, I was running their internet marketing team. And after that, after I've been with them for 2-3 years or so, I didn't the management, the direction that management was taking the company, I kind of didn't agree with it. So I was faced with a question of, should I go work for somebody else doing the same stuff, or maybe try and do it myself? And I made a decision to do it myself. And I thought at the time that it will be very easy. You know, it's like, if those guys can do it, I can definitely do it better.
Yep.
And I'm sure every entrepreneur in the world says that at some point, and very quickly they realize that they are way over their head.
Yep.
But we pulled through, and was it 6 years later, here we are.
Great. So you launched in 2015?
Yeah, officially I quit that job in, I believe, November of 2015, and it took me a couple of months to do all the paperwork and kind of start out the actual company. Yep. But yeah.
So early 2016. How old were you when you decided to make that jump?
25. Yep, 25.
Yeah, great. And do you have some key numbers to share to illustrate the growth of the business over those 6 years?
Sure. So when I started, I started with $0. So I did not get any investment. I didn't do any investment in the sense of even out of my own pocket. I was just had some savings, and I was living off those savings, like working a bit of extra time, like in summer and whatever else, as a lifeguard and stuff like that. Started with $0. And this year, after COVID hit, we still were able to grow. And this year we pretty much just hit, or by the end of the year, we're going to hit our $1 million in revenue, annual revenue.
Done. Yeah, fantastic.
So yeah, there you go.
And how many team members? I assume it just started with yourself, and then what kind of team members you're up to now?
Yeah, so started by myself. There was another person working with me, kind of trying to do sales. That didn't work out well. So after a short period of time, I was on my own, truly. And right now we have 16 full-time people that are working with us. We have them, especially after COVID, we are fully online currently. And we have people all over US and even other countries. And also we have about 30 or so contractors that are working not exclusively with us, but we do provide 50% or more of their workload for them.
So including the contractors, the wider team, the full-time equivalent would be 24, something like that, 25?
Yeah, maybe around 30 people, like a full-time equivalent.
That's great. Well done. Fantastic.
Yeah, and COVID, I'm sure hit every business in some manner, and we had grand plans of growth in 2019, 2021, but the pandemic happened, and it did definitely slow down the growth. Thankfully, we were still able to grow. It just, the growth was much slower.
Yep.
Our projections, our goals were 30 to 50% growth in terms of annual revenue and everything like that. And unfortunately, it was closer to 10%.
Right.
Which is still good. We're not losing money, or we're not losing money. We're not going down, but it's been a little bit tougher, definitely.
When was the moment you felt like you had succeeded?
Oh, that's a very loaded question. And in general, if you ask me, I would probably say that I still don't feel like it. And that probably comes from my mentality, because there is always room for improvement. There is always better ways to do what we do. There are always clients, better clients, bigger clients. So in that regard, it really depends on the how it defines success.
That's the next question. Yeah.
And I would say that the first step in terms of when I would be able to tell that we succeeded in terms of just, it felt like it became a kind of a real company. We weren't scrambling, it wasn't like paycheck to paycheck in terms of company expenses and stuff like that. It was probably, I got a really big client in, I believe, late 2016. And they were the biggest client for quite a long time, like couple years for me. They kind of in a sense saved the business.
Yep.
But that client turned everything around.
Number one thing you'd recommend to marketing a fast growing business other than SEO, obviously?
So recommend in marketing to market a fast growing business. So our almost motto, or like a slogan, is don't trust the gut, trust the data.
Yep. Great.
Because that's one of the biggest problems with marketing industry. I talk to so many people, C-level executives, big companies, big corporations, business owners, solopreneurs, every kind of person. And a lot of times I hear, when I ask them, why do you do certain marketing initiative activity? In a lot of responses, I hear, well, we're used to it. Well, my grandpa used to do this and I inherited the business. Or my cousin told me so. Or I read this article online and we're doing it. And there is nothing wrong with experimenting, definitely. But there is plenty of wrong with just doing it blindly.
Yep.
So literally the number one thing that we, in a sense, require even before starting working with somebody is, do they have solid data, data tracking, data gathered over time, so that we can, in a sense, audit and analyze all the marketing activities.
Yep.
And if the potential client does not have that, then either we can gather it for them, or it's not going to be a good match. But yeah, number one advice would be, if you have not started tracking your data in terms of everything, from where the leads are coming from, where the phone calls are coming from, in terms of what campaigns had the best ROI, and so on and so on and so on. You have to gather all of that data and track it and track everything. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to make data-driven decisions. And at that point, it's a flip of a coin, or even worse than that is, shooting in the dark and hoping for the best.
Yeah, it's like that old advertising adage that 50% of advertising is wasted. You just don't know which 50%. And what I love these days with marketing, online marketing, it's so easy to measure the success of campaigns, what's working, what's not, and turn off what isn't, and then get double down on the things that do work.
Exactly. Yeah.
So funding your business, haven't taken on any investors. You just lived off some savings, and then I'm guessing you just built up cash flows in the business and just reinvested those. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. We're fully bootstrapped, never got any investment, never got any loans of any sort. Obviously, we had like a credit card, but we would try to pay off pretty much fully every month. So that's kind of how we have functioned so far. There is definitely, I would say that people who get large investments, if they have not had experience, in my case, I have never run a full-size company. If somebody gave me $500,000, I probably would have wasted it.
Yeah.
So in that regard, it helped me to be cautious in terms of spend, and that helped not wasting money. Therefore, the net profit, the gross profits were always good, and that allowed just being more careful with money, with budgets.
If you were to start up today with plenty of funding, would you go into your industry?
Yes, I love marketing.
Yep.
Absolutely. That's what I do. That's my brain is all about numbers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a huge data nerd. I'm a huge numbers nerd. So I love the way we do things. I would probably definitely change few things here and there, but it would be more about like the processes and just knowing what I know now. We would not invest in certain marketing campaigns, in certain tools, whatever else. It would be just a bit more efficient. So in a sense, we're kind of actually doing it right now. We are opening or we're planning to open a couple secondary brands, and it's just more specializing in specific industry with specific size of the company, kind of narrowing down the offering of services. Because in the beginning, as any other solopreneur, entrepreneur, you try to survive. So you take every size of client, no matter how horrible
mm-hmm.
or great they are, and do whatever they ask you to do. At this point, we are blessed to be able to pick and choose, in a sense. So yeah.
And you outline the most stressful point in your small business growth journey, so our audience can learn from it.
So one of the things that it took me a really long time to realize is the value of really good employee. I kind of used to think that what's important is getting not necessarily the cheapest employee, but kind of money talks.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can find somebody who can more or less do what you want them to do for the cheapest salary, that's going to be the best employee and the best decision. At this point, I strongly disagree with myself with that. And at this point, we are investing in people, because, without the team, the business does not exist.
Yep.
So if you don't take care of your employees, if you don't take care of your people, if they leave tomorrow, well, then there's no business. And it takes specific type of person to work with us, because I am very, very demanding.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, they have to have the know-how or at least if they start at like a junior position or something, they have to have a very curious mind and hardworking, be a hard worker. But yeah, that's the idea, that at this point we are not necessarily looking for cheapest solution. We're looking for the best solution. So
sounds like you've learned the hard way.
Oh yes. I went probably so far. We went through about 50, maybe 60 people who worked with us at some point as like an actual employee. And in a lot of cases, they would not last a month or two. Because they were cheap. If you are getting paid very little, then the next best thing comes around and you're gonna go.
Off they go. What area in business do you feel you've had to work on the most to add the greatest value?
I would say that the employees part, again, building the team, kind of repeating what I just said. Without team, business does not exist, and that's what adds the most value. The more you can trust your team, the better you're going to be. And the rest kind of comes off of that, because if you have a great team, you can create great product, great service. Therefore, you can get great clients. And that's kind of what starts the addition of greatest value. And of course, there are smaller things like making sure that you have business strategy and marketing strategy and growth strategy, and you're not ripping yourself apart in terms of like service offering and stuff like that. But in my mind, currently, everything starts with the team.
What have you enjoyed the least about managing fast growth?
Growing pains. There is the saying, how does it go? I don't want the labor pains, just show me the baby. I think that's something like that. Right. So whenever you grow, and especially when you grow without experience, without being experienced, there's a lot of pitfalls. There's a lot of problems that you come across along the way, and you're kind of learning the hard way. I don't really still like the idea of even having a mentor. You definitely should have a list of people that you trust and can ask for advice. But if you just are given something on a silver platter, then you're not really learning. You don't know the reason why. If just tell you the same thing with kids, like you know what, don't stick your fingers in the wall outlet. And if they will do it eventually, and that's how they learn the hard way. And in business, the same thing. You do some kind of activity and it wastes your money or something of that sort, and otherwise you would not have that experience, which just makes you a better business owner, makes you a better person. Let's say, again, going back to the team, if I did not suffer through those employees that did not work out, I would not know who to hire. So it kind of all fits together.
What do you love most about growing a small business?
A small business. I would say, I would rephrase it a little bit maybe, or I will try to answer the question, what I love the most about growing my business. And really it's the satisfaction of achieving certain results. Let's say in SEO world, it is hitting certain page rankings. It is hitting some kind of revenue goal for the client. It is seeing that you develop, after you develop a strategy and campaign and implement it, and it works out. That's what gives me the most satisfaction. Kind of in this, I wouldn't call it an ego boost, but it's like we came up with this. We didn't just take it off the internet or something. We ran through it, we thought through it, and now it actually works and it brings good results. So In a sense, I guess it is like a little bit of a self-pat on the back, but that's what makes me want to come back every day into my office and do even better job.
What's been the biggest mindset shift for you in your small business growth journey?
It would be about the team,
Yep.
which I already mentioned.
What is the number one habit you think a small business owner needs to develop and maintain?
That's a very loaded question. I would probably go with again, relying on data versus an article off the internet or gut feeling.
Yep.
And one of the other things that so these habits and even like the mindset shifts, they change through your business journey, because right now we are at the point in the business, at the point where we have certain amount of people, we have certain amount of revenue, and the advice that I would give right now would be more about the same size of business in the same situation. And let's say like the whole idea about a team hiring somebody who actually knows what they're doing. If you don't have any money, if you're just starting out, well, you can't do it. So you have to kind of struggle through all that stuff. So the habit that I really push right now is the balance of business, of work hours, and family.
Yep.
And I think we're going to kind of talk about it in a little bit. But yeah, that's one of those things that you currently, in the current size of the business, I can allow. But whenever you start as a solopreneur, it is 20-hour work days or whatever, 18-hour work days. Otherwise, you're not going to survive. And so I would say, in terms of habit, if you can, make sure that you allow enough time for your family, for your significant other, and just things for health. It could be as simple as enough sleep.
Yeah.
Could be as going to gym and like not drinking too much coffee type of thing, and so on and so on.
Yeah. Be the change you want to see in your business. Become more productive and less stressed with our free Transform Your Performance online course. Once you see the benefits, put your entire team through the course at no cost. We start out by telling you the secret to guaranteed success. Then over 100 lessons help you be more focused, present, productive, and feel more in control about work. growasmallbusiness.com. And you've talked a bit about adding people to the team. Talk about some wins, mistakes, or advice for those listening on adding people, because you've obviously gone through a lot of people. And
right.
Yeah.
Advice? So if I have probably one of the not typical views at hiring people. Whenever we look for somebody, we do not look for accreditations. We do not look for education, because that in most cases does not mean anything, especially in our industry. Obviously, if you're some kind of doctor, engineer, architect, then you have to have some college degree and training and all that stuff. In our industry, not so much. And unfortunately, I have had quite a few graduates that were graduating from with marketing degrees, and they come in and they don't understand, have no idea what SEO is, how it works, how all of the marketing channels work together, and so on and so on. So really, diploma or some kind of a certificate does not mean anything to me. So in terms of adding people to the team, what I would say in general, look for somebody who will come in early, stay late, who wants to grow with you and is not there 8 to 5. I hate people who live at 5:01. That's pretty much the first red flag. Because we have test days. Whenever somebody starts working with, or before they start working with us, we do a full day, and I see stuff like that all the time. They show up at 7:59, leave at 5:01, and that's probably one of the biggest things.
I think that can also tell you if they've got genuine curiosity in what your business does, because if they love it and they're right into it, the time will fly and they will be well past 5 o'clock that they're still there.
Exactly, yeah. And the other thing that I would strongly suggest paying attention to is how many questions and what type of questions that those people ask. Because obviously every business is different, and no matter how much you know, you should fit into the team and bring your best ideas, but you still need to be asking questions. So if people, and there is the saying that there's no stupid questions. In a sense, I disagree. There are a lot of stupid questions. It just the question of how stupid that question is, or the difference in how stupid the question is, depends on the experience. So if somebody is coming in and they openly say, you know what, I have never done SEO. So a question of what is meta title is not a stupid question. But if they come in and say, I've been doing SEO for 10 years, then that's a very stupid question. So I like people who are asking smart questions, who are bringing their ideas to the table. And a little other side note, a suggestion: when we were at the office, obviously now we are fully online. Whenever we were at the office, I would get every team member who are starting with us a small office plant and let them take care of it and see how they do it. And that will tell you so much stuff about a person. It's better than any of those tests you can do online. We've had people who don't care at all, and that plant dies in 2 days. And some of them take it very seriously. And that gives you just an idea about what type of person they are. Because you openly tell them, this is your plant, take care of it. And that just tells you about if they are taking tasks seriously, if they are invested, if they can take, in a sense, the not direction, but if they are going to be caring about what you entrust them with. I think
I'd be in trouble in your team, because it doesn't matter what I try to grow, I seem to
well, and obviously the effort matters more than the result, in a sense. And not in a sense, a lot of cases it's effort that matters, not the result. If I see that a person is trying their hardest, if they are doing their best, sometimes things don't work out. I have the brown thumb, I guess.
I was going to say I had that too.
So anything I try to grow does not survive for too long. But I'll do my best to do it. If I see that the plant is dying, I'll spend 2 hours on YouTube and Google and try to figure it out why. So it's all about that.
What are some things you recommend to building a sustainable and kick-ass culture to help with the growth?
That's a culture question, is something we're still exploring. And to be honest, I do have a bit of troubles with it. Because I still don't fully, not necessarily understand, but I'm not sure how to build the best culture, especially in remote teams. If everybody in the office, you get to kind of chat with everybody, you get to interact with them on every day, all day long. So it's a little bit easier, and as long as you are kind of having friendly, open conversations, then it's more or less naturally grows. When you're remote, that's a very different story. But from what I know so far, what we try to do is they're really just it boils down to one thing. With every team member, we have this conversation after they work with us maybe for about a month or so. We have the conversation about what we call a bright future. We ask them to imagine, not even imagine, but tell us about what their dreams are in general.
Yep.
In 10, 20, 30, 50 years. What do you do? Where do you live? What kind of projects you work on? And ask, are you like, say, if they're not married, for example, are you married already? Do you have kids? Stuff like that. And they paint that picture of their bright future. And for us, in order to build that person up, build the strongest culture, the goal for the business owner, the goal for me, for the business in general, is to either be able to provide that bright future for them or help them to get there over time.
Yep.
So even if we can't provide, let's say, they say, I want to make $1 million a year. Most likely it's not going to happen with us.
Yep.
But we can make sure that we help them to learn the best tools and whatever knowledge we can help them. And when those things are aligned, you're going along the same path towards more or less the same goal. There's trust. There, it's fun. You kind of all in the same boat, and nobody is trying to go different directions. So that's what builds up the culture in my mind.
Yep.
And of course, there are certain things that are kind of more or less standard. Like we do have some. Well, now it's remote lunches. We just Uber food or Uber Eats to people, and we have a little lunch, kind of like with Zoom on, and just talk about random stuff.
That's good.
We try to do currently we do it once a year only, but we bring everybody, fly everybody in somewhere, and spend like a long weekend in person with everybody, and have some fun activities and whatnot. And also just making sure that you care about your people. That's the biggest thing. Obviously they have to be compensated correctly. They should be, if they just listening to your people. If they tell you something is not right, instead of just rejecting it, listen to their point of view and try to figure out why they feel or think that way. And so it's really all about trust, all about making sure that we are going towards the same goal.
Yep. So pay is usually about fifth on most HR surveys about why someone works where they do. And the other four things, you pretty much reeled them off there. So interesting and engaging work, they're trusted by their manager, and they're aligned with the purpose of the business and what it does. So I think you're well on the track for a good culture there.
Yeah, it's we're trying.
The balance question. Tell our audience how you've handled balance.
Yeah, so that's the work-life balance question that I touched on earlier. So ideally, if you read any good material online or watch any of those balance videos, there's a rule of 3/8. So 24 hours in a day.
Yep.
8 hours should be for sleep, 8 hours should be for work, 8 hours should be for family or personal fun stuff. And that's the ideal scenario. And for any business owner, if you can't be 888, then you have to pick and choose. Where do you borrow time from? And when you start kind of thinking and talking about it in depth, long-term borrowing from those 8s does not work.
Yeah.
So if you, let's say, borrow a couple hours of sleep for a long time, that's going to affect your long-term health.
You build up a lot of sleep debt. Yeah.
Yeah, that's you can't really catch up on that if you do it for 10 years.
Yeah.
If you borrow too much time from your family time, then you might have some marital problems and stuff. So it has to be as close to that 888 as possible. And definitely when you're just starting out, it's going to be 20 or 16 hours of a day of work, and then a couple of hours of sleep and a couple of hours of family time. And as long as your spouse or significant other is okay with that, for shorter period of time, maybe like a year, or couple years, or whatever that period of time is, as long as you're being upfront with about that, it's okay. It's kind of, you have to do it, but it just can be sustained for a long time.
Yeah, totally agree.
So that's how I try to do my work life and personal life balance. And so in the beginning it was like 16-18 hours work days. And a little tip for listeners in terms of at least personal life, if and of course it depends on your significant other. So I am a night owl myself, so I don't do well in the mornings, but I usually stay up late. And my wife is early morning person. She gets up early by herself. She goes to bed early. So if you kind of let it be in terms of natural progression of time and work and so on, then we'd never see each other, because I'm still a business owner. I do have extra time towards business. But so what I do is at 5 or 6 o'clock or so, around so, when my wife comes from her work, I stop my work. We spend 2-3 hours together. She goes to bed. I come back to work. And that way I get that extra time towards work, but I still get to spend time with my family. Just find the time.
How do you manage the curse of loving what you do? As particularly as a business owner, you've got extra responsibility, but also it can be quite addictive.
It definitely is. And to be honest, I have to force myself. And now I trained myself to, in the beginning, it was a force myself. You know what? It's 5:30, 6 o'clock. My wife comes from work. I have to stop. So I just had to force myself. And because before that, I would start in the morning at 9 a.m. and stay by computer till like 11 p.m. And that can be healthy for anything. No. So I started forcing myself to just pause. And now it's almost like a habit. So what's the saying? I don't remember the saying. It avoids me right now. But basically, the idea is that the habit comes from repetition or something like that. You just do it enough times. And
I think it was an Aristotle quote: "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit."
There you go. Yeah, exactly. So there you go.
How much professional development have you invested in yourself?
I have not invested anything monetary, really. It was all from podcasts, videos, doing anything, just reading articles as I research different things, and hands-on learning. Especially as a business owner, you get to do that more than anything else. And so before COVID, when I was driving to the office, my drive was around 30-ish minutes or so, maybe like 40. And with traffic, I would, on the way back, in and back, instead of listening to radio, some dumb stuff, I would be listening to business development, marketing development podcasts, videos, and so on and so on and so on. So that's how I was able to kill two birds with one stone. So that's what I would typically recommend. In the beginning of my journey, I actually had my learning time on my schedule. So I would do usually like 2 hours a day. And even currently right now, since we're working remotely, I force myself to watch not educational, but just research videos and anything I can learn from during lunch, usually while I'm eating. And I don't have like a set lunch time,
Yep.
but whenever I take a break, instead of, I don't know, again, just watching some YouTube videos about some unrelated stuff, I just I just watch something related to the business,
Yep.
marketing, Google search algorithms, updates, and stuff like that.
So you mentioned before you haven't really had mentors or coaches.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
do you have a board of directors or advisors?
no, nothing like that. It's all truly bootstrapped.
Yep.
Everything from internal. Now, so what happened was in 2018. Yeah, 2018. I merged with two of my friends. So up until that point, I was basically a solopreneur, and I'm not a good designer. I'm not really a good salesman either. I'm more about numbers. I'm the data nerd guy.
Yep.
And so two of my friends, one of them is a designer, all about visual elements, and then the other guy, he is kind of sales and anything related to business development in that regard. So they were opening their own company, or were planning on opening their own company, and they just invited me for lunch. And at first we were talking about basically just trading businesses, not businesses, but trading services. You know,
Yep.
I do SEO for them, or if they have a client that is SEO client, I do that work. And if I need their design services, then they kind of help me out. And after talking, we decided, well, it might actually make sense to just merge. So that's what happened. And for what's it, almost 3 years, yeah, around 3 years actually, exactly, it was three heads instead of one.
Mm-hmm.
So the advisory board was in a sense internal.
Yep.
And yeah.
So they're still there now as business partners?
One of the guys during the COVID time, he decided to pursue other opportunities, but yeah, it's two of us now.
Well, Dmitrii, one of our final 5 questions. What do you think is the hardest thing in growing a small business?
That the answer to that will depend on where in that journey, business development journey, you are. And I'm sure if you ask me in a year or two, my answer will be completely different. So really it's kind of a generic question, but the hardest thing in growing the business is the growth itself.
Yep.
And that, because growing business is not just one little thing, it's a combination of a million of those things. So managing the budgets, making sure you have a great team, making sure you have good strategies, making sure that you have good sales and stuff like that. So it's everything under just growing the business. You know, it's I would not be able to single out one thing.
Favorite business book which has helped you the most?
None. I actually never really read any business books. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. All my knowledge comes from online marketing articles and videos and podcasts. If especially in the marketing industry, in SEO industry, there are couple, I guess they're technically not, they're not a book, but they are online blogs. So anything about marketing, there are moz.com. I really like them for beginners, especially.
Yeah.
Ahrefs has really good stuff about content marketing, backlink building. There's an agency in Austin, their content marketing agency, that produce really good blogs and videos about content marketing. They're called Siege Media. A shout out to them. And other than that, just generic stuff. Valuetainment. That's a big channel about business and just in general growth for business professionals. Really good channel on YouTube. And the last one, I would say, there's a it's a podcast, or it's not a podcast, it's more like stories in the form of podcast called Business Wars. And it's about historical events in business growth for major brands.
All right. I haven't heard that one. That sounds interesting.
It is. It's very interesting. They explore and tell you about, for example, how Pepsi and Cola were fighting and how they went through their journey. So yeah, just I would say those resources. I think that's pretty much it.
Good. One tool you'd recommend to help grow a small business?
I would not be able to single out one tool. For me, it's data. So
Google Analytics, I'm assuming you're a big fan of.
Google Analytics is one of those almost like a foundational tools that is very easy to use and install, and it's going to give you basics, at least basics. Without it, if you're a business that does anything online, and nowadays pretty much everybody has some kind of online presence, you have to have Google Analytics, absolutely. But really anything that helps you extract more data. And it could be like a notepad where you just write stuff down. It doesn't have to be anything fancy and with a high cost, high price. You can use Google Sheets or Excel, which is free. So really, it's not about tool, it's about what you use those tools for, which for me, it's always come down to data gathering. Because without it, you're not going to be able to grow efficiently.
Finally, my favorite question: what would you tell yourself on day one of starting out?
Get ready. Persevere. Because I think this is common theme. At some point, people are ready to quit. Pretty much, I would say every single entrepreneur at some point was ready to quit and stop that journey. And whoever persevered, whoever pulled through, they are usually come out on top and have really nice businesses. I have had a couple of those moments, and I'm here. So there you go. So really on a day one, what I would tell myself is, if possible, go listen to this podcast, because we actually covered so much good stuff here about everything from team building to professional development, to personal development, the balance and stuff like that. So yeah.
Great. Well, thank you, Dmitrii. I think the audience get a lot of value out of what you've shared with us. It's a great journey. Congratulations on the growth over the last 6 years, from starting just on your own to around 30 full-time equivalents and cracking the $1 million mark. So that's impressive growth. So well done.
Well, thank you so much.
And for our audience, we'd greatly appreciate a review in iTunes or whatever platform you listen to us on. More reviews means we bubble up higher in iTunes, etc. So more business owners looking for podcast help with their growth will find us.